everybody, this is Steve from Brass Horse Media, and I want to talk to you today about a problem I've been having with my license plate lights on the back of my 2015 F150. Specifically, the passenger side works fine, but the driver's side has been working intermittently. It usually flashes, sometimes it doesn't come on at all. And I noticed this whenever I was backing up in the backup camera, especially at night. I could see that the driver's side was working just fine, but the passenger side either wasn't working at all or it was flashing. Now, as I looked this up online, I found a lot of forums that said that people were having the same experience, but I didn't find anything on YouTube about how to fix it. So we'll get up underneath the truck and I'll show you some culprits that could be causing this kind of problem, and I'll show you how to fix it, and hopefully we'll get this thing fixed for a little bit under $10, $12. All right, I'm underneath the truck now, and I just stepped right underneath. There's the hitch receiver, and I just got right underneath here, and what you're going to find is that right there, only mine was wrapped in a black electrical tape. I've taken that off since, but right here is that license plate lamp receptacle. And so I'm just going to reach my hand up here, and you twist it back toward you and pop it out. Okay, I think I can actually sneak my hand up behind it, but it's easier if you go in over the top of the hitch receiver. But I'm going to sneak in behind here so you can see it. I'm going to turn it toward me. You hear that? Positive click, and just pop it straight out. Now, I'm going to pull it down. Again, this one was wrapped in black electrical tape. I went ahead and cut that tape so that it would hang freely for me to work at underneath the truck out in the daylight, where I'll be able to record this a little more easily. Okay, what I want to show you at first glance is this. Since the bulb rocks back and forth freely in this electrical socket, it gives me the idea that maybe some kind of contact isn't very good. Now, it's going to be kind of hard to see. I'm going to try to get as close as I can. But if you'll notice, prong on the left is sunken in. You'll see it's down further than the prong on the right, which means it's going to give it a lot more tension on the right to hold it in place than on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pry that up with a small dental pick that I have. You could use a small screwdriver. We're going to see if that'll create a little more tension and help that light bulb stay on. Okay, I did what I said. I took a small dental pick, which I have pictured right here, and I reached in underneath the contact, and I started to try to pull it out. You can see the top one is intact right there. And I tried to do the same to the bottom one because it was pushed in. And immediately when I touched it, I saw why. And it just pried loose and it popped out on the ground. And here it is right there. And you can see there's some corrosion in there. And this thing just corroded. If you look at the shear line, it just corroded completely apart. And so this was basically just sitting in there loose, which is why my bulb was flashing on the driver's side of the license plate light. So what that means is I have to replace this part right here. This is the socket. This is the wiring harness, and so this is going to come loose. Now, this on your truck is going to look like a tab that you can push in with your fingers. I was wholly unsuccessful at doing that, and I pushed so hard I actually broke the tab off, the little plastic tab off, but that doesn't change its functionality. It holds this little tab in place in here. And so I had to use, you can see it's a little bitten up, I had to use a combination of a couple of screwdrivers to push that in, and I had to say a few special words in my special word vocabulary, and I wound up getting this socket out. So I'm going to pull that out now, but just know that you're going to need to push with some screwdrivers, and it wouldn't hurt if you had an extra hand to kind of turn and twist to pry it out this way. Or maybe you just want to spray some penetrating oil lightly in there just to break that plastic loose. I shook it around. The socket was loose in there. I could move it, but it wasn't going to come off that tooth right there very easily without some convincing. So maybe just find a way to make that happen. Push that in with some screwdrivers and pry it apart, and I finally got mine to pop loose. I'll show you. Okay, so here it is. I hope the wind isn't messing with you too much. There's not much to this. In fact, it's about an $8 or $9 part. If you go online on Amazon, you can find this part relatively easily. I'll put the part number on the screen and in the description below, and you can go get this socket pretty inexpensively and replace it. In fact, you may want to go ahead and just get two because the other one might go out soon enough if in fact this is some kind of defect. The fact that I looked this problem up and saw a lot of people in forums mentioning it, I haven't seen a fix yet on YouTube, but I did see a lot of forums mentioning it, tells me that perhaps this is some kind of manufacturing defect, something like that, that affected a decent number of trucks. So if it happens to you, it's normal, or you burn both of them out, you may have a problem not with the bulb, but with the actual socket. All right, here we are actually 2 days later. It took me 2 days to get this part in. Let me show you what it is, and I'll put the numbers down below. This is a Dorman 645-550. This is a socket this is going to replace this part right here. This part right here. So I once again have to remove this. I'm going to remove this real quick, and then I'm going to show you the new socket going into place, and hopefully that's going to fix our problem and our lights aren't going to flash anymore. This part cost about $10. I bought it on Amazon. You can find the Ford matching number on there as well, made in the USA by Dorman. I'll just pop it open, and you can see that it matches the other part perfectly. In fact, it's not chewed up from me prying it apart. Everything aligns very well. So I'm just going to insert this, pop it back in there. And you heard a positive click. When I pressed this up in there, you could hear that positive response as this locked and clicked on. All right, I've got these replacement bulbs right here, Phillips 12961. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these open. I'm going to put one of these in, and hopefully that's going to light up pretty constantly. One quick word about these light bulbs is that there is a polarity to them. They only work if they're installed the right way. So if you plug these light bulbs in and they don't work, then just pull them out, turn them around, and put them back in. And that should do it. All right, you remember that when we pulled this thing down, that it was pointed up like this, and it was wound in electrical tape. And we want to put a couple of winds of electrical tape back on it. And the reason why, because we don't want these wires to just be hanging loose, vibrating when this is up in the socket where it goes, and we're driving along and the wiring harness is vibrating, and this is vibrating. These are thin connectors, very thin connectors. This is probably 16, 18 gauge wire, so it's just gonna eventually wear that off. But if we put a couple of winds of electrical tape on this harness like this, it's gonna hold those connectors static. And all the tension is going to be on the sheath of this wiring harness, which is where you want it. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple winds of 3M electrical tape on there. I like to use the good stuff, not the cheap stuff for this, because it just holds up better in weather and deterioration and stuff like that. So I'll get back to you as soon as I wind that up. Let me save you some frustration about how to tape that. Don't just put it up there and tape it any old way, because this sheath will prevent you, or will at least resist, how you have to reach up in there and turn this in order to get it out of the socket. The best place to put that sheath is bend it right up on the clip like this. And then just the side where the clip is, this side no clip, this side clip, just bend that clip up against the wiring harness. Don't crimp these wires, and just wrap a couple of bands of electrical tape right here across it. All right, just like that. Now you're gonna find that when it's taped to that side of this socket, you're gonna have a much easier time getting this up inside the light socket and turning it and twisting it the direction you need it to go. Trust me, I know that from experience. A real quick way for you to test whether or not it worked without running up to the front is just to hit the unlock button on your Ford remote. When you hit the unlock button, these lights will light up. So let's see how well we did. All right, we've got the bulb back in, and I did put a little dielectric grease on here. You can get those in little packets at an auto parts store. It's just good to put on bulbs that have some kind of outside exposure. I do that all around my house whenever I replace a bulb in my house. It will keep the will keep the bulbs from sticking in place. So I'm going to go ahead, and it's kind of hard, springy, it's going to want to go up in underneath the bumper, but I'm going to let you see. Again, the trick is just hit the unlock button on your Ford remote. You want to do that, and she burns nice and steady. Look at that. No flickering, no flashing, nothing like that, which is fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted. Burns nice and steady, and in just a minute it'll go off as the lights fade. So I'm going to go ahead and snap this back up inside, and there we have it. We got it all fixed up, cinched up. It cost about $10 to replace this little socket right here. You may want to buy two, because this socket is used in other places on the vehicle. You may find that come in handy if you've got the extra means to do that. All right, I'm going to list all the parts and everything I use down in the bottom, and I appreciate it. Hey, if you like the video and if it was helpful, like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Bye.